Good morning, Year 7. I'm sorry to greet you with such a, a rather scary looking table of data. I've attached this PDF to today's homework, and if you are able to print it, it will make today a whole lot easier. Can I just say, we are continuing with scatter diagrams today, so I'm not introducing anything new. So if you're not able to print and perhaps not able to do today's work, I don't want you to panic. You're not going to be missing out on anything. But I think this is a really interesting activity, and so if you are able to print and have a go at this, then please join in. I hope you enjoyed having a look at the Gapminder website earlier in the week. I know it's a bit funny when someone just says spend 20 minutes looking at this website, because you can say, well, what should I look at? But I hope you were able to find some interesting things out. I do think Dollar Street makes me feel very grateful for the fact that I live in this country with all the comforts that I enjoy. But yeah, there we go. I hope it was interesting. And I've got this data from the Gapminder website. Now, there's over 200 countries in the world. So what I did was I got the top 100 in terms of population. So these are the 100 most populated countries in the world. And I've sorted them according to four very broad regions. So Africa, North and South America, Asia, and Europe. So the most populated country in the world is China, which is in Asia. That's 1.3 billion. And India is almost the same, 1.3 billion. For some reason, that hasn't got commas in, but yeah, that's 1.3 billion. You've then got the USA with 320 million. And then Indonesia, I'm always surprised by. That's got quite a lot. Indonesia is sort of a collection of islands, isn't it? And I have to say, this data is from 2011. I've got more up-to-date data for lots of things, but I didn't have it for mobile phone, so I had to go back to 2011 on Gapminder. For each country, you've got their population, you've got the average life expectancy. So that is the mean of the age at which people die. And so they look in a year at the age that everyone dies, add it up and divide by how many people died. That's the life expectancy. And then the next column is the number of mobile phone contracts per 100 people. And I always think this is amazing. How come you can have more than 100 mobile phone contracts per 100 people? That means some people have got more than one mobile phone. I suppose some people have got a work one and a personal one, but there we go. The last column is GDP, gross domestic product. Now, that's not gross as in something horrible. That is the total of all the money earned by all the people and all the companies in that country. And this is in millions of US dollars. So Nigeria, it's 5,217 million dollars. So that is 5 billion US dollars. There we go. Now there's a lot of countries here, 100 countries, and we're going to draw a scatter diagram for this data. But you can't draw a scatter diagram with 100 values. So we're going to pick 20 of these countries. And I'm not just going to pick my 20 favourite countries, that wouldn't be fair. I'm going to pick 20 countries evenly spaced throughout my table of data. Now I've got 100 countries. So hopefully you can see that I need to pick every fifth country. There's a name for this, it's called systematic sampling. It's a way of ensuring that when you have to select a group of people, or in this case a group of countries, from a bigger group, you do it in a fair way. So I am going to pick every fifth country. Where do I start? Well, it doesn't matter whether you start with the first, second, third, fourth or fifth. As long as you pick a country in that top 5 and then pick every fifth country after that, you'll end up with 20 countries. So I'm going to start with country number 3, Egypt. You could start with Egypt if you want, or you could start with Nigeria, Ethiopia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or South Africa. So I've picked the 3rd country. I think I'll zoom in at this point. Okay, that's a bit better. My eyes were going a bit funny. So I've picked the 3rd country, Egypt, and I want to pick every 5th country after that. So to start with, it's really easy. So 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 5 is 18. 18 plus 5 is 23. 28. Now I've got a problem because I get to the end of the African countries. So you've just got to be careful when you get to the end of each region, because I've only numbered them in each region. So what I've been doing is I've been going forward 5 jumps. It's always a bit tricky, I think, when you say every 5. Does that mean that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps in between, or 5 gaps in between? Well, I count the jumps. So going from Egypt, I jumped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps. So I'm going to do 5 jumps from Rwanda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So USA is the next country. And then I'm in the USA, the Americas, so I can do my 1 plus 5 thing. Now, okay, I'll be honest, it's not super crucial that, you get it exactly right. We just want to try and make sure our sample is spread evenly throughout our whole set of data. And once we've done that, what are we going to plot? You'll have 20 countries then. I don't suggest you write that 20 countries out. I'd like you to plot, go back to Egypt, a scatter diagram with life expectancy on one axis and mobile phones on another axis. So for Egypt, Egypt's life expectancy is 70 years, and they have 101 mobile phones per 100 people. And you'll have a pair of values for every country. So Sudan, life expectancy 66, mobile phones 56. Okay, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm going to set this up on a scatter diagram. Here we go. Along the bottom axis, I've done life expectancy, and up the side, the vertical axis, I've got mobile phone contracts per 100 people. And I'm going to leave you to make some decisions about how you number these axes. You don't need to start from 0. So, for example, if I look at life expectancy, fortunately, there aren't any life expectancies below 50 years. In fact, the vast majority are, well above that. The highest life expectancy is around about 82, 83 years. So I really need to number my axes from 50 up to 80 or 83 or 84 or 85. And I'm going to leave you to decide how you do that. Okay, I think that's quite a tricky one to think about. Mobile phones are much more varied. In fact, there are some countries with very few mobile phones per 100 people. There's a couple of countries with only 4, for example. But there are some countries with massive, over 120 in some cases. So I am going to start this axis from 0, and I'm going to leave you to decide how far you go. Now, I'll tell you what I did. I made these lines 12 centimetres long. I may not need all 12 centimetres, but I was so impressed when I set you that data handling exercise at the way you coped with deciding how to scale the axes that I'm leaving you that little challenge. And I think that's probably the hardest bit of this work, because deciding how you number your axes is really crucial. Once you've done that, you then need to plot your 20 countries. So you're going to have 20 crosses on your diagram. So for example, Egypt, remember, had a life expectancy of 70 and 101 mobile phones per 100 people. There we go, there's Egypt. So I would go along to 70, wherever that is on this axis, and up to 101, wherever that is on that axis, and I would do a cross. That's Egypt's cross. Remember, we don't join our crosses up, dot to dot. We do our 20 crosses, but then if you think you can see a correlation, you get your ruler out and draw a line of best fit. And remember, lines of best fit don't go through the origin necessarily, and we only draw one if we think there's a correlation. If you think there's a correlation, Could you describe it? Is it a weak or a strong correlation? Is it a positive or a negative correlation? And if you think there's a correlation, do you think this is a causation? Do you think that people are living longer because they own mobile phones, or people are living shorter because they own mobile phones? Or is there something else involved in this situation? I'd be really interested if you wanted to write just a little sentence alongside your chart once you've done it, telling me what you think. Okay? Remember, you get outliers in many sets of data, so you might get odd points which don't quite fit the trend. There may be no trend at all. I'm very interested to see how you cope with this, because I think this is one of the most challenging things I've asked you to do, and we're getting towards the end of term, so it's good to challenge you. But there we go. That's all I'd like you to do today. And if you wanted to attach a photo of your finished scatter diagram to class charts, fantastic. I would very much like to see it. Again, if you've got issues with printers, I fully understand that, and I'm really sorry that we haven't really got another way round it. Don't worry if you can't do today's work, and by all means email me if you get into a pickle or you're not really sure how to proceed. So let's just go through it one more time. If you can get a printout of the sheet, brilliant. You're then going to choose 20 countries. So how many had I got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got to keep going until I get all 20. And then you're looking for each of those 20 countries at their life expectancy and the number of mobile phones per 100 people. And you're going to use that data to plot 20 points on the scatter diagram, and you're then going to interpret it. I look forward to seeing how you get on. Take care.